All right, so we are about to convene the meeting. Mr. Russell is here as well. So on the phone, who do we have? Adam Burrows.
Correct.
Maria Marchand.
Very good. Maria.
Mary Jo Nozel.
Mary Jo. Excellent. Anyone else on the phone from the public or elected office, etc.? Great. Okay, so I will call the meeting to order. 7:36 officially. And let me just run through. I think we've got regular members. Missing Grub.
That's about it.
I think that's it. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep.
Yeah, so Grub is the only regular member who's missing right now. So do I have a motion for replacement?
I'll make a motion to have Matt sit in for Grub tonight.
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Okay. So financial reports.
Just to run down the month of May.
Yep.
Property tax collections year to date, a little bit over 35.9 million. We've collected over our budget, so that's good, because last year we didn't in total. For grants, we received the LoCIP money for the year, 48,000, and the 400,000 for the sidewalk grant. Whether we keep all that 400 or have to give some back to be determined.
That's for Soundview.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And then under other transfer in, that's the closing out of the library fund, which we talked about last week, of $6,967. So in total, general government revenues year to date 99.4. So that's good news. With another month to go. For expenditures, registrar, as we talked about throughout the year, is over by, in total of 5,000 as of the end of May, and will continue to go up. I think just maybe another 1,000 or so. I don't expect much to be coming in. Other departments that I do expect to be over by the end of the year is municipal police, park and rec commission budget. My finance budget and the Board of Finance budget. Advertising costs that I think you're going to talk about.
The cost was $2,000 over our budget of $1,000.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
nothing we can control. So.
Right.
I know in the past we've used the line times to put the budget in. That's much less expensive than the day. And I think it covers us because it's actually better
Right.
because it gets into every
Yeah.
household as opposed
Right.
to just subscribers. But that deadline is like almost 2 weeks before the paper comes out.
Yeah,
So it's a matter of we have the budget ready to go to them.
Yeah, so it's either or.
Yeah.
In this particular case.
School kept tweaking their budget.
as I mentioned, the Park and Rec Commission is over budget by just about 600. Again, this is due to the legal and the issues they've had up there with the boundaries and the LLC. Under emergency management, both the virus and the storm accounts have no budget. And last year when we had virus costs then, we were under the executive order, and so the Board of Finance could move as much money kind of as they want. We're not in that boat now, as I think. So I'm not sure what we need to do.
Well, we're going to have a special town meeting likely for the transfer station, so we can, those two items, which are both the FEMA storm and FEMA COVID, could be put on that agenda. Sort of like snow plowing, where you have to go over, and then we can get it approved, hopefully at town meeting.
Okay.
That would be good. And just under capital, the project for the keyless entry on the 3 Firehouse is pretty much complete as far as Phil has said. And I believe it's under budget. I think we budgeted 30 grand for all of it. So we've spent about 27,000. We did pay out the final retainage on the Mile Creek Road Bridge to the Hacknicks of $87.55. We have some costs also for the sidewalks, sidewalks, legal for 5 grand, and BSC for 17,000. Those are all in carryover. And just on the second page, under other funds, building improvement fund, for the temporary transfer station, we paid electric and Mike Swaney for moving everything, as well as to put a new traffic light in there for security reasons, I guess. What does the traffic light do?
Traffic light is for that Donnie right now, when the car comes up and they go on the scale, he hits the button and it will flash red from the stop. Once he has it, the computer reads what he has, so he pushes the green and they can go off and dump, and then they come back. I've seen it in a couple other dumps when we put the permanent building in, we're going to keep that. It's pretty neat the way it works, and it helps Donnie a lot, because in the shed we have now, he doesn't have good visibility of the cars when he's before the scale, where before he's right in the center of it, so we can control the traffic better. That's why that's in there.
How much is that?
For the traffic light?
Yeah.
Like, not even 1,200.
Okay.
That's it for the reports, and I just have a couple other things I just wanted to mention. For the Haynes Park restroom, all the bills are in. Some of the estimates that we had, we were going to expend more than we had. That's not the case. Actually, I have about a little over 3,900 to come back into the general fund, just like the library, so I'll be closing that out in June.
Yep.
You'll see that come in. We got an update on the state budget, and for 21-22, we had budgeted about $561,000 for state funding. And the new estimates that have come in have us receiving $716,000. So the ECS went up about 132, and some of the pilot, they're not doing the college or the state-owned property pilot money, but there's a new one called tiered reimbursement pilot, which is $65,000, and I'm not quite sure what that is, but it's more than the.
But it is coming to us?
Yes,
Okay.
it says in
So
the
thank
adopted
you.
budget, yep.
So we accept that,
Yeah, so yes.
even though it's just running the printing press.
Right.
So the original state, what we had thought in toto we would be receiving was 500 and what?
61.
561.
561 original. All right. So we got 150 extra.
Right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
gosh, I never thought that would happen. I would go the other direction.
Again, spend it as fast
Yeah,
as
exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're doing
Yeah.
6 trillion.
inflation destroys dollars.
They'll be asking for it back.
Yeah.
And just the other thing I wanted to mention on the coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund, or the American Rescue Fund as they called it. I've applied for the first, it's coming in 2 different parts, 50% net, and hopefully in the next 2 weeks I'll get it, and 1 next year. And we're getting in total 2.1 million, so it's a little over 1 million each time. So that, of course, has stipulations on what you can spend it on. They've had a lot of, the state and CCM have had a lot of webinars and that kind of thing. So it's a lot of coronavirus related, but what they really recommend is for towns to form some kind of committee to do a needs assessment on what you're going to do that, because we're going to have to report back to the Treasury. It's coming through the state, but I'm going to have to report back to the Treasury So that's a little bit more,
So.
to me, not scarier, I would say, but just, I don't know how restrictive.
Right.
That's a little bit down the agenda, the American Rescue.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll
Okay,
wait.
we'll wait on that,
Yeah,
yep.
we'll wait on that, yeah.
But I'm just flowing with good news.
You're
That's usually
So
what
wait,
I do.
Yeah, so we got better collections than expected,
Yep,
right? So
yep.
that's good.
Yep,
And then nothing really to report in terms of expenditures like craziness, right?
no, just what
Yep.
Ed's gonna talk about.
Yep. Wait, what?
And is that why I saw Public Works using the animal control van?
Was there a load of gravel in the back of the
Nah,
van?
I thought it was gonna open the doors and the dogs were gonna jump out.
All right, so, all set?
All set, I'm done.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any questions?
That's great.
Thanks.
All right.
Old business. Old business. Tim, Mary Jo's on the phone as well. Anybody with old business? Ed, what is the mystery item that we're about to hear about?
Mystery item is the new building for the transfer station.
Okay, it's under new business maybe?
Old business? Yeah,
Kind of old.
yeah,
That's not on
you're up.
We'll talk about it now.
It's kind of old new.
Yeah,
Right. We know it's coming.
all right.
I'll tee it up a little bit. He knows a lot of the details, but as you know, this board approved 19,000 when we knew that the building was in terrible shape. So we have spent money on a temporary, well, it's a new building, but it's temporarily used as the station, the way station building. There was electrical work, water work, and the traffic light, which was mentioned, and some scale connections from the old building to the new building. So we've spent about $14,300. I think most of the bills are in, if I'm not mistaken. So the next stage will be to have a replacement building for the old one. It'll be smaller. It'll probably be 16 by 30 feet. Phil has gotten some quotes from the company that did the restroom building, which went quite well. And the building there would be, including pretty much a turnkey thing, $135,700. There'll be a certain floor in there. Sounds like a bunch of gerbils in there or something. They're gonna, rather than just have a slab, they're gonna have a crawl space and a special flooring in the building because it gets, you know, kind of heavy use in the building.
Yeah, but
So-
Tim, it was a single wide, right? It was a single wide trailer that we had.
Okay, yeah, let me explain this. Back
So
when-
we're going from a single wide that's 40
To
grand.
a building.
To a building, like stick-built building.
Right.
17 by
135
30,
grand.
it's not that wide.
Well, 1.5 times. I mean, a double wide's what, 20, 22 maybe?
Yeah, but that thing was longer than a typical.
That was a single, all it was a single wide.
It
right?
was
A brand new single wide costs us 40 grand.
Yeah, but
Now we're going to 135 grand.
Yeah, well, let me explain why.
Yeah,
Okay, the single wide, which lasted 15 years.
Wasn't it used when we got it?
yeah.
Yes, it was used when we bought it and we paid
so
back.
call it 20 grand.
We paid back then $20,000 for it.
Right.
Okay.
It was in rough shape then. We had to put another, I'll bet you 15 into it because we had to move doors, we had to fix the insulation, we had to rewire it all.
So we're going from 35 grand to 135 grand now. So,
Well,
so
you're actually going.
In a permanent structure.
Yeah, let me explain what this
yeah,
says, okay?
Yeah, yep.
Phil went out and got a price of $135.75 from the fellow that did the bathhouse. At that point, I met with him and said, Phil, because that was with a slab, I said, we can't, this building that we designed, or I've basically designed, is 99% maintenance free. I think it's time we start looking at the future as well as just building now. I mean, we wouldn't be in this spot. We could have put this building up probably 15 years ago for $100,000, and it would still be there. So I met with Phil again. I said I want the same siding as the upper building, and I want to put a forever roof on it. I want to, and then I got
Can
a
we
price.
do that for the schools too?
Huh? We're crazy to go with asphalt roofing now, because if you're thinking about your kids and grandkids down the road, it's going to cost you. This is what we're up against now. By the way, let me.
So the 135 grand is for what?
The 135 grand was for normal siding, an asphalt roof, and a slab. We have a quote from Stokes for $98,857 for the building. We're getting another quote because this gentleman did some work in town, and we've gotten feedback that there were some problems. So we're waiting for another quote from a guy from East Lyme, which has worked with all the vendors.
But that 98 didn't include all the sub work.
I believe it included everything I changed.
Now, Bill said all the electrical, plumbing, all the.
Oh, no, that's just the building. He's building the building, it's gonna be insulated. And then the electricians after is 14,000, Greg Landry 16, and the footings are 22, which brings that building total up to 154,897. Phil put in a 10% construction thing at 15.5, which comes to 172.36. If you put all the changes into what the people who built the bathhouses do, the price comes to, with the change orders, to 167,125. Here's what I want people to know. When this came about and the Board of Finance moved fast and got the 19,000 to get them out of there, Mike Swaney and Greg Landy dropped everything they were doing and came down on a Monday, and we moved everything and never lost a day at the transfer station. I am very adamant about when it's not funded money, grant money, to use taxpayers in town. And let me explain why. When the bus barn was built, we didn't go with the low bid because he had a problem. When Todd Mackett got in there and he looked at the prints closer, he reshot it and found that we were about 300 to 400 1,000 yards short to build it up. He regraded it and put us in there at what the price came in. That bus barn would have been way overpriced if it had been just a normal contractor. He would have gone by the book by there and said, well, it says I need 400,000 yards of fill. Here you go.
But why are we not just, look, we had a single wide in there, right? Let's buy a brand new one for 45 grand, plop it in
Because
there.
we're going to have the same thing we got now. In 15 years, you'll be replacing it.
It was used 15 years ago.
I don't
you told
care.
me.
It's not what you want in there. By the time you rewire it, put the lights in it, put a bathroom in it,
It's a guy who's there for 10 hours a day, maybe.
6 days a week.
Right.
Well,
And
I'm not going to back it. We went too hard with this. I mean, we spent $240,000 on a bathroom that's used 3 months out of the year, and nobody's in it 24/7. We
you're
can't
preaching to the
spend,
choir on that one.
but we can't spend
Yeah.
$175,000.
So you're arguing against yourself on this one.
Well, I'm
But
not saying that.
It's okay.
What
It's
did
okay.
the Board of Selectmen recommend?
Yeah.
Well, this is not fully baked. We need another quote from a fellow called Jeff Lord. And so, but because it's going to exceed, in any event, the Board of Finance authority, it's going to go to town meeting. So we have to do more research and
Okay.
come back.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. Have we considered anything but that one option?
Well, they considered a carefree building. I did some research on that with Mark Whalen. It does not meet town specs for a building
Right,
because it's got to have 2x6.
right.
So
So
how much
there's got to
space- I'm sorry, go ahead.
to me, there's got to be something other than a single wide to a
House.
permanent structure.
But we're looking at a place that's.
I mean, right now it seems like all the energy is going into this.
Right.
Like the
Well, what-
decision's already been made, and I don't think we're there
I
yet.
think though that, like, this isn't, we're not really gonna
No.
go with it tonight anyway, so I think, I think your recommendation is good, like, we should
Let's
look
see,
at options.
let's see three
but-
options.
But, you know,
Yeah.
ultimately, the Board of Selectmen is gonna be the ones to recommend what they
Recommend, and then we can
recommend,
decide
and then
what
we
to
can
do.
decide what to
Yeah,
do.
that's right, yeah.
I mean, how much space do we really need there?
Right.
I mean, to me, Ed, how big was that building, 20 by 30?
27 by 17,
For one guy.
2 guys.
I mean,
Two guys.
I mean, let's look at how much space is needed.
Okay, but here's the thing, I'm sorry, but here's what we're looking at. They're in there 8 hours a day or whatever. You gotta put a bathroom in it. We're looking at a small dinette set so that they got a microwave and a sink.
Makes sense?
And then you've got the electrical box,
Yep. It's
and,
gonna be the same no matter what you put there.
right? And then we've got a storage area in there, which we don't have now because it's a trailer. I mean,
How about something 12 by 18?
Yeah.
huh?
How about a 12 by 18 structure?
Well, I
this is-
think,
That's 17 by 1.
Yeah, no, to Anna's point, like,
Yeah.
I mean,
let's-
somebody's working on this, so.
someone's working on it, but it shouldn't be a fait accompli. We shouldn't have one choice to decide on. We need 3 choices.
Okay,
That's it. 3 choices, and by the way, 600 square feet for 2 guys seems a little big.
Sounds like we're not making it for them to live in, we're making it for them to work in.
Right, and we're talking about stick-built versus like plopping something down, so get all that stuff. But there's more than one choice here.
Right.
And so what has just been described is one choice
Yes.
for us. And so the selectmen need to have 3 choices and then come to the Board of Finance and say, look, we evaluated these 3 choices and here's what we're recommending, and then we can easily say, sounds good.
Yep.
and
Or doesn't.
let me explain why the one choice, and it's probably not, we.
No, Ed,
No,
there needs to be more than one choice.
Yeah, there will, but they only got the one, because I don't want you to think we're trying to just throw something at you, is because of the time frame to get them in there before winter. And we've got these guys that were lined up and ready to,
Single wides are easy to bring in, so there's one choice,
Right.
right? Single wides are pretty easy to bring in with everything you just described, so that's one choice.
There's fast
So
enough.
understand, so in the next month, if you guys come up with 3 choices for the Board of Selectmen, including like plopping down, Carefree is called Carefree for a reason, right? So, you got Butler buildings, you got all sorts of options here, right?
I'd love to put a Butler building in there.
But come to the Board of Selectmen in the next month with 3 choices, and then they come to us the next month, and we're done by winter. Because that's your concern.
Yeah,
right?
that's why this was put together like it is.
Right.
Can
Yeah.
the temporary structure not stay there for the winter?
I know what?
Can the temporary structure not stay there for the winter?
It's gonna be kinda hard to heat, where it's got 2x3 walls and.
Yeah, and
That's fine, it was
we
just a
have
question.
We have a
I
small
mean,
air conditioning room.
I know everyone feels
Yeah.
like
There's no-
everything's
let's
more
get it
expensive
done.
right now,
Yeah,
so.
let's get it
I
done.
mean, there's no running
Oh,
water.
that's a
I
good
mean-
call too,
Yeah.
We're also building it by the most expensive time.
That was why I was like, if we
That's-
pushed it to, another
that's-
time, could we get away, but it sounds like we cannot, so.
5 years ago or 2 years ago, this building probably would have been $100,000.
Yeah.
Lumber is outrageous, it's outrageous.
Yeah.
We're building at a bad time, but we had no choice.
It
We
sounds
had
like,
to-
yeah, we got a plan then, we're
Yeah,
gonna
we'll
come
get a
back
couple
with 3
more.
meaningfully different.
I like
things,
that
not
idea.
just
Yeah,
things.
and a goal of within 3 months, we made a decision and we're
Okay.
starting to do whatever we're gonna do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all right.
not to slow anything up.
No, I see your point too. I mean, I knew it was a lot of money, but
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to come in this side, but then when the lumber prices came in, I went, oh. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
What is this special meeting that you're talking about?
We haven't scheduled it, but it should be, I mean, this would be a candidate for it.
What are we talking, July, or August, what do we?
Well, it depends on the
Probably
items, because we've got a
August.
couple of
Late July,
items.
early in August, yeah, one of the other.
Because I
Is
don't,
there anything
That's
else you know?
a selectman
I
item.
don't see how we could get all that done
No, but,
for a July meeting.
just the approval of those additional things for the budget for me, for my audit.
Do they have to be done in August?
They don't have to, I mean,
Okay.
they're not
There
gonna
we go.
finalize my stuff until probably September.
Yeah, well,
That'd be fun.
Huh?
we could-
I still
we
want to
could
know
work
about
to
the
make
animal
it as
control
early
ban
as possible,
being
so
used.
Okay.
if we
I know, I
made-
wanted to ask him
if
about
we
it.
had a good
I figured it
presentation
wasn't
a month
on
from now,
topic.
then we could schedule a meeting shortly thereafter, Brian.
Okay. July and August works for me, so.
Yeah.
It's the traffic control ban now.
Sure.
All right, that was old business.
Okay.
Any other old business? New business. American Rescue Plan. Is Old Line finally going to get rescued?
From what?
Yes, $2
$2
million.
million.
Well, I know that part of it is, can be given to nonprofits, corporations, individuals.
Individuals. Cool. Every volunteer gets a piece.
What kinds of purposes, for what kinds of uses?
Probably people in need. And, you know, like a nonprofit, we probably have to write a
Bring
little
laughter.
case study as to why they have hurt from the coronavirus. It's gotta be coronavirus.
Okay, that's
Well,
what we
so,
need to
so
know.
you're saying some of it, for example, could be given to a corporation simply because that corporation lost money during the coronavirus?
Yeah, I think it's a slippery slope to try to have the town be in there. Now, just to digress a little bit, the town share is $743,000, and the county, which we have no counties, for us is $1.4 million, so it's like 2 to 1. The county.
So that's where the 2.1 million comes
Yeah.
from, right?
Oh, okay.
Now,
So it's not all line.
because the COGs are somewhat like a county, they're asking that, at least our COG is saying, would the towns allocate, say, 15% of their county money for purposes that the COG might do for the good of the whole COG area. Now,
Was
with
that
us, it's a
50 or
little-
15?
What?
50% or 15?
1.5.
Okay.
Now, because we are, Lyme and Olyme are in a different county than the rest of them, which is Middlesex and we're New London, there'd have to be some adjustments because we wouldn't necessarily say, here's our money and it goes to all sorts of entities in Middlesex County, but not New London County. So we talked about that conceptually. And this is still in the talk stage. It's not a commitment by any means. So within that, you might have a community, you might say, okay, why don't we earmark some money to a community foundation that might have the horsepower to properly evaluate a broader scope than Lyme Youth Service or something of that sort. And a large chamber, such as the Middlesex Chamber or Southeastern Chamber, might play a role in some corporate or non-individual type thing. So this is where we have to put our thinking caps on. There's also, the town can do things on its own, such as water and sewer. Now, water and sewer, that could mean, obviously, potable water and sanitary sewer. It might mean storm drains. We're not just sure what might be eligible there. It does not appear that we could do a bridge or do a building or something of that sort. It's supposed to be tied in, and we got to read all these papers and see what we can figure out. It seems to me it would be nice to embark on something that would benefit the whole town as opposed to a specific group or you could maybe devote a % of the money to go to individuals in need or nonprofits and so forth, with a buffer in between the town and those entities, so that the work of evaluating the merit and the need and so forth wouldn't be on the town. But if there was a project that would benefit all of us, that would seem to me a very good purpose that we wouldn't have to spend the money on, but would be beneficial to everyone. So we haven't really gotten into this. We will be forming a committee to look into what the rules are. It talks about financial things, but I think we need to understand a lot more before we start saying, well, that's a great idea, let's try to do that. So,
Are there deadlines?
well, the money's coming in two shots, as Nicole said, in the next year. And I think
That's an allocation though, it's not, hey, here's the cash.
here's
right?
the cash.
That's the
So,
cash.
so-
Cash will come in.
right,
Now
so
when you
cash
work
comes
on-
in,
It's gonna be.
And then you have a
and then
couple-
ex post facto, we have to justify what we spent it on?
Well, we just don't go spend it. You have 2 years to
Okay.
figure out how you want to spend it. You have, I think,
Then 2
4 or
more.
6 years to actually spend it.
Got it.
Yeah.
2026.
26, you have to spend
Yeah,
it.
so 5 years
Okay.
to actually spend it. So it isn't like, hurry up, figure it out, or it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
It'll
Good, I
be
like that.
in
and
our-
it's actually cash in our coffers.
Right,
Is it inaccessible to individual towns, the COG money? I mean, not one group can use part of it while somebody else is still trying to decide.
We get the $2.1 million.
yeah,
In our
in 2 years.
Okay,
in
Over 2 years, right? So
50-50.
$1 million and $1 million or whatever.
And so, if we bought into the COG concept, we could
Yep.
say we'll give them 7.5% year one,
Right off the top.
7.5% year
Yep.
two.
Back up to those guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you could start figuring out how the rest of it would be dispersed.
got it.
And you've got 2 years to do that, so.
Fair enough.
And then after the money is spent, you have to report to the feds
Oh, yes.
how it was spent.
Yep.
And if they say wrong thing, then you gotta pay it back or something?
Probably,
That
yeah.
kind of thing?
So hopefully there's an approval process that before you cut the check,
Yeah,
Well, that's,
you
would be
say,
safe.
is this okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
right.
you know, make sure it's signed off by somebody in Washington or wherever before the.
I think
money
that's
goes out.
going to be a real slippery slope. The school is not running that way. The school is running just like what Nicole said. You get it, here's the rules, you spend it, and then you submit it.
What do you mean,
And
the school?
the school got
School
gets their own
separate
money.
American
Yeah.
Rescue
Yeah.
money.
Oh.
They got, actually, they got around 700,000
Right.
as well, a little over that. And
700,000 in
they,
total? Or
in
one of
total,
two
they got it
shots?
in three disbursements, and it's been all in the last year or so. They have all of it.
They were
And
gonna
they
do these outdoor
targeted-
classrooms and
Yeah.
build playgrounds.
But again, it's very, if you read it, and they had this,
Reasonably vague.
it's very vague, and you could definitely use some very creative writing to pretty much get many things
They're gonna be
convinced.
consultants up the wazoo who offer you
I'm
advice.
sure, but it's the same deal with them. You have 2 years. You have it. You have 2 years to allocate it, and then you have 2 years to spend it.
It's
So.
funny that they give it to you just to sit there while you're.
yeah.
So, Kim, you said you were gonna.
It is funny.
They're too busy.
Appoint a committee to understand the rules.
Yeah, I think that's
But
going to be
why
very
not
important.
A broader jurisdiction for the committee to do everything, and not to
Oh,
make
it would be. I
decisions,
mean,
but to understand the rules and then to make recommendations.
Right, that's all.
A menu of recommendations for how.
Yeah, that would, it'll be a turnkey type of thing, and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a wonderful opportunity, but
Yeah.
it's complicated, and
Yeah.
you need smart
But
people to
although-
figure it out.
2.1
And
sounds like a
descriptive.
big number. If
Yes.
you-
Like
And descriptive people.
descriptive?
Yes, verbose.
Have we had
Yes.
people are already contacting the town hall to inquire about the use of that money?
Yes.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, it's been in the paper for.
No, I know that, that's why.
You know, big cities.
Well,
have lots
for
of
instance,
hours.
I meant here, yeah.
Oh, yeah, here's, yeah.
For instance,
Okay.
the food bank set a piece in saying, we deliver in an unrefrigerated truck. and It's
Uh-huh.
the only truck we have, and wouldn't it be nice to have a refrigerated truck with an automatic tailgate? And your share would be.
Okay,
So,
so,
there's gonna be a lot of that, and you have to be careful,
mhm,
because there's a lot of need out there. And
Of course there
2.1
is.
sounds like a lot of money, but it could go quick.
Yeah.
it's gonna go fast.
Yeah.
So, we don't have to rush.
Tim, can it be used
It sounds like one
things we've already spent.
Bridge
money on
across Grassy Hill.
COVID related.
He already said no bridges.
I think you can spend it on bridges though.
Well,
It's just,
yeah.
I think.
We have, everybody has a place for
Yeah.
it. Everyone's
So-
got a,
It's good
said he
news,
needs a budget
and,
still.
but we have to be careful and go slowly, so.
So just to summarize, Tim, so 2.1 million bucks roughly is what we'll get over 2 years, and the idea is that the Board of Selectmen are going to appoint an ad hoc committee
Right.
to consider how it's spent or no?
Yeah, consider,
The rules under which it can
understand
be
the
spent?
rules, consider the options, and.
So pretty broad.
Make yeah, very
Yeah.
broad.
make recommendations.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, do we have to do anything with the interest that might be earned on this account?
Cannot earn interest on it.
You can't. But that's okay, because you can't earn interest even if you want to.
Right.
I mean, there is no way to do that.
Of course,
So the banks aren't looking for
of
it.
course, the
They
deposit.
just, but they get
I've
the
been looking for that for a long time.
Oh, dear.
People are paying a third of a point a year.
Yeah, yeah.
I know, but if you put it in a commercial bank, they're gonna be able to do something. They don't have to pay you interest, and they
Well,
make.
they-
Yeah, they're gonna buy treasuries.
Right.
They're
Tim,
gonna
where's
pay
the
you
safe?
nothing and buy treasuries. That's been the trade for like 15 years.
Yeah.
So,
Can it
anyway.
appreciate but not earn interest?
No, Webster Bank's already contacted me and they have a special account already set up.
I'm sure they do.
So they're on top of the requirements and all that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right.
Okay, that was quick.
Any other new business? Are we done with that or no?
That's all.
Yeah, I think so. There are some other items that might fall in the category of the selectmen's report, which.
It's not on here,
On
Tim.
the list here, so.
But that's okay.
Want to do it under new business?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Soundview sidewalks are progressing well. The May 28th was the substantially complete date, and that is fairly well, has been fairly well achieved. As you know, the sidewalk is the top of Hartford Avenue and 156 from Cross Lane to the PD. Those sidewalks are, for the most part, in. There are some small details that are being worked on. So that will be finalized. There might be some paving to be done in the fall, with aprons and stuff that weren't quite right. So minor stuff, but that's because the contractor bid about $261,000, I think it is, versus the $400,000. There will likely be room for additional improvements beyond installing the sidewalk. So there's an effort right now trying to get some information on constructing a bus stop there, a transportation hub, so to speak, and a couple of other minor things beyond that. We're also mindful that there are some ineligible items for the grant that need to be accommodated with the allocation that have to take priority as well. So that's moving along, and I think the company, Rivero, has a good reputation for doing sidewalks, and they've done, I think, a pretty darn good job. Ferry Road sidewalks. We've been talking to abutters about the sidewalk along Ferry Road. Trees are the big deal, as they were when we did Lime Street. And so we have the potential of having the sidewalk where it is, on the north side, or perhaps on the south side. If it were on the south side, it would be less trees impacted. But that doesn't mean that if it was on the north side, a bunch of trees would have to be removed. We're also trying to figure out how you might go around the tree or carefully go over the roots so as not to disturb them to the point of killing the tree. So we figure once we speak to the abutters, maybe have a public hearing, we could probably slate that job for after Labor Day. As you may recall, there was this steep grant that helped us out, and there was an overall budget of $150,000. However, I think likely the entire thing will need to be enhanced depending on what we do. I mean, there may be some tree work that was not contemplated that we have had to come back and talk about. Swan Brook. Swan Brook comes under the cross lane, across 156 and down along Miami Beach and Hawks Nest. And there are two 36-inch pipes under the beach at Hawks Nest Beach Club Association. And at the end of that, there's a wood crib that guides the water out into Long Island Sound. The crib has been repaired several times. It takes a beating with the Long Island Sound. So there's an obvious need to do something about that. We just got an opinion from town council about who is responsible for the improvements, the pipes and the crib. And the conclusion is it's likely the town. The town in 1948 got permission to put the pipes in the beach, and so as much as we would love to have other people help us out, well, I think we have to conclude it would probably be a town asset, and therefore the town would have to deal with it. The pipes may not have to have anything happen to them. One of them is plugged right now, but that could be unplugged. And so there have been a couple of ideas about what you do. Because Hartford Avenue drains, the storm drain drains down and makes a 90-degree turn to the west and actually enters Swan Brook. This project might qualify for the water and sewer aspect of this clean water. So something to think about.
You need me with a shovel to unplug the one 36-inch? I mean, if
well,
it's...
why don't I get you down there and you can respond?
Oh, is it unpleasant?
It's like
How far in is it?
you'll have to crawl about 50 feet back.
Nice,
Fat burger.
but it is 3 feet wide.
That's true.
So anyway, that's something that will likely require more town involvement. We've been working with Miami Beach and Hawks Nest Beach. Actually, Hawks Nest Beach Association was formed after this pipe was put in, so they're saying, and Miami Beach, of course, has a vested interest. If it floods, that's a lot of Miami Beach property that gets impacted. So there'll be more on that later. The Harbor Management Commission is working on a project that surfaced recently, and that is dredging or re-dredging some of the 4 Mile River to the south of the railroad bridge. It is silted in since it was dredged before, and it's been very difficult for people with boats in the marinas on 4 Mile River, upriver, as well as the state boat launch to get out into Long Island Sound. Have to watch the tide charts very carefully. The DEEP wrote back to the Harbor Management saying that they did not consider it an emergency repair, so that means but they did say it might be a certificate of permission, which is a lot easier than a permit.
Yeah.
You can file some modest paperwork and get permission, but that would likely have to be done after the boating season and do it hopefully next year. The Connecticut Port Authority governs the grants that were used to dredge the Blackhall River as well as the 4 Mile River, which was what was it, 1.4 million, was that whole project? Something like that. So there's about 256,000 left over, which has miraculously not been snatched to our knowledge, so I think the priority would be, can we make sure that money doesn't go anywhere? And it might not be sufficient to do what studies are required and actually a barge and a dredge and all that stuff. I don't know. It seems to me $250,000 might not be enough. This is about 300 feet by 30 or 40 feet to muck out. So this is all quite new as of 2 or 3 weeks ago. So the harbor management is working diligently trying to see what might be done because it does affect these 3 marine areas. The another item is the Soundview permitted parking lots. Last year, we collected 100% of the parking fees from the, I think, 7 permitted lots that operate within Soundview. However, as COVID raised its ugly head, we curtailed the parking to 50% of capacity, including the town lot. So there was not a refund made of the fees. So the Board of Selectmen discussed this and thought it would be fair to return 50% of what the parking lot operators paid last year, and they have paid what they're being charged this year, which was the same fee plus 6.35%, because the state of Connecticut decided that municipalities should pay sales tax on parking revenue, which was $4. So the gross take on the fees are something $7,500, I think, $7,070. So if we did the rebate, it would be $35.35 to I think actually 8 because one of them is in Old Colony Beach. I'm not sure whether they were under the same restriction, but close to $3,500. So I just bring it to your attention. If you think it is a good idea, I don't know if we need a motion or what, but it just seems fair that if people were being forced.
I don't know if interrupt you, but check with Michelle. Didn't the people pay only half this year?
Only one person paid only half.
Okay.
Lot number 4.
Did he finally pay the whole? Or
No, he only paid 50% because he said that he was promised a rebate last year.
Okay.
So he doesn't get the.
Well, we
No,
wouldn't have to cost
that can be
him.
worked out.
That's 7 people.
I just wasn't sure if all of them had or not. I just saw that one.
Yeah, no, the others seem to do that. So that's a point of discussion. Decide. I mean, I don't know. Do we need a motion?
So do taxes get passed along to the customers ever then?
To which?
The 3
If
points.
taxes are raised, do they ever get passed along to the customers? Maybe the folks, you know.
Well, I think a parking lot, if you're authorized 40 spaces and the town says you can only park 20, would you feel that maybe a refund of, it's charged on a per space basis.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And then on top of that, the state wanted.
well, that's this year. They're paying the tax and everything this year. This is for last year.
All right.
It sounds reasonable.
So-
I mean, come on.
I'll let you think about that. The registrar of voters budget, because of all the crazy election mailing and primary and all that so forth, they're about 6,000 as of May, and they'll have some additional expense. I think the thought might be that we don't really have to do anything specifically if the board is aware of it.
Yes, about a month ago during the budget, I just made them aware that that was going to run over, and they chose not to do additional appropriations and just wait to the end of the year
Yeah.
to do a budget transfer at that time. So I don't think we need to discuss it. I don't
Okay, so that's,
Yeah.
they'll probably get into the $6,500 range or something. We mentioned the Board of Finance ad, you know, I guess next year we can be clearly aware of when that deadline is, and if we don't have a final number with the school or somebody else, we'll just go ahead and publish what we have and.
Or try to remember and make provision just in case for the $2,000 instead of the
Right.
$1,000. And then hopefully we get the $1,000 and, you know, but we just have to provide for the eventuality that
Because that has to
may
be
happen.
published prior to the budget vote in May, right?
Yes,
It's not for the hearing in April.
no,
So we
can do that.
think we should be
We
able
should
to
do that
have
too.
numbers
yeah.
coming out of the hearing.
And if the school
We have the
was,
school
Right.
number April 1st.
yeah, that's usually 2 weeks ahead of us.
This
Yeah.
year.
Alright.
That is something that,
Yeah, the
We'll be
school
recommended
number
for
is 2
being
weeks ahead of us,
100%
so
We
it
just
should
need
be,
to make sure by mid-April.
yeah.
And we just need to shoot for never using the day ever again.
But it's their subsidiary, I mean, the day is crazy
Yeah.
for those prices, but
Yeah, but Lime Times is 1,000, I know it's their,
it's the day. But
yeah, it's the
gonna
day,
be
but it's
$500
$1,000 or $500
It
or
would be
whatever.
$500 for a full page ad.
Yeah.
A long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you running this year? You may not get reelected for that. Might be in the.
And the last thing is, the facilities director, he projects that during the month of June, he may need additional hours, which 25 hours at $50 an hour, $1,250. He, this year, was involved with the Haynes Park restroom building, which was a bit more work. And he's been working on this transfer station situation. So, he's been getting, warnings that he's running out of money in his budget for him. So I don't know if this would fit into the category of the registrars, if people would like to comment on him being slightly over.
So the original, because I was part of thinking about Phil, and we had 3 people that we interviewed and identified Phil as the candidate and that sort of thing with Bonnie. And the idea was that there was a baseline of need, right? That could be smaller projects, and it was initially evaluating, because we had a property condition report for all the buildings and that sort of thing. And then what Bonnie and I had originally talked about was if there were a larger project, there would be the potential for a clerk of the works or that sort of thing. So I think that this year we've had a couple of larger projects that have presented themselves and created a larger need that was anticipated when we originally hired Phil, and manifested itself now. And so in thinking about what he's done in the last year compared to, you know, the more usual, hey, I got painting of 1/3 of the town hall and that sort of thing, this does make sense. So we can talk about it, I guess, next month, you know, as we get towards the end of the budget year.
well, even though he might have be over on his line item, his salary is included under the town hall department, and there'll be more than enough money to cover that, so I don't even
Like,
think.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't think won't even be an issue.
Okay, so,
Okay, well, just
So
so,
is there an issue regarding his work this month?
Right.
In other words, does he say, I've got to spend another 20 hours doing something, but there's no money allocated, so we need to get.
well, he's been
green
getting
light?
notices, kind of like a countdown, so in
No, but he may
January.
need advice as to whether or not he can go and
Keep
do
going.
the things that he
Yeah,
does.
and I think if the consensus is he can keep going because there is enough resource in the budget, then we could say, you know, spend it wisely, but don't stop work when you run out of gas.
Oh, it should be, you know, you should maybe ask him, Phil, how many extra hours do you think you need this month?
He said 25.
yeah.
He quantified it as 25.
But But the way it was originally conceived was he has a baseline
Right.
of just keeping stuff kind of going, and then if there were a bigger project, it would be a discrete number,
Yeah.
right?
Well-
And that sounds like where we are.
Sounds like he's managing it well.
Right.
Yeah.
But the narrow question is whether he can be authorized to do that, and I think the answer is yes from our standpoint.
Tim, yeah.
Right.
Tim can
Okay.
manage that.
Tim's got it.
Yeah, not
Check.
open-ended indefinitely,
But
but,
the 25 hours that he's estimated,
Right.
I think we're approving.
yes. No?
It's just an advisory thing on where he is.
And it can be maintained within the town hall budget anyway, right? Is that roughly?
People who are part-time, we track their hours, so like if we have part-time people that only have.
We're talking about $750.
Right, $1,000 a year,
Right,
they track
or
their
whatever it
hours.
is.
12.
Anyone who's excessive that,
12.
we'd like the first selectman to approve it, so that's all we're looking for, the approval from you
Yeah.
as
Well,
So you're
we're starting to share
reporting
report.
Phil's gonna be on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And back at 0, starting the first of the year.
yeah. July 1st
Okay.
starts back
Yeah,
at
2
Okay.
weeks.
That is 2
That's,
weeks.
that's about it for me. That's our
Excellent.
questions.
Castellanos?
I have a new business question. So we seem to every year get a White Sands bill about the pump filling up with sand. There's currently a catch basin, not on the street that, you know, the main White Sands Beach Drive or whatever that is completely filled with sand to the top. So if White Sands isn't keeping their catch basins clean, then the water can't go anywhere except only into our catch basin with the sand. So I think maybe having Ed or having Phil go down there and say, you know, let's check all these out and make sure that these are all being maintained, because I really don't want to hear about this again this year, that we need to allocate.
Yeah, because we put big fancy pumps in.
Exactly.
there
And
And then every year.
we
fancy
need a
pump.
new fancy
Yeah.
pump.
Every
So
other year.
it'll be next
Who's
year.
counting?
Don't exaggerate.
And it'll be our sand. We've earmarked it somehow. It's definitely town sand. So, but I think just making sure that that's clear, because it is a huge pain, I think, for them when these catch basins and the pumps do fail. So making sure that everything down there the system is running the way it's supposed to before the storm comes and
Right.
Good idea.
dumps the sand that then we
Yeah,
can't
winter's
manage
really
for them.
bad because that brings sand and so forth over the parking lot and everything.
Yeah. It's down at the end, kind of where that house is right on the beach, that stucco house that's on
Yep.
the corner there. That catch basin is the one that's, I mean, it's full right to the top. Like you barely see the catch basin.
Yeah.
So yeah, all the water from there is gonna end up in the catch basin in the pump.
Exactly.
That we pay.
That we pay for, dragging all the sand with it. So, and you know, I recognize that that's a big problem down there for those guys. You know, if that corner where that catch basin with the pump is fills, you can't get out. So,
Right.
you know, but
Yeah.
we should probably make sure that that's a discussion
All
with
right, we
them.
can have Ed have the inspection there.
Okay, other new business? All right, approval of minutes, May 17th. Everyone should have gotten these physically, I think, from Michelle, and then electronically as well. I had no comments. I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I have one question maybe Michelle brought up earlier, which is, she said she doesn't remember Maria being present at any meetings, but she's listed as present at the last one.
In person.
So, Maria Marchand, are you on the phone?
I am.
Were you physically in person at May 17th?
No.
No, I was not.
Okay, so present via phone. Yep.
That's the only one I have.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Make a motion to
Accept?
accept the minutes.
Is there a second? And then we'll go to
I'll
any other
second.
comments. Okay, great. Comments or discussion? Additions, subtractions, etc.?
The only one I had was on page 2, in the first paragraph, the word migration to Outlook. I think migration was supposed to be lowercase, unless there was a reason why. Was that a project?
Oh, yeah.
And the third third line down.
Yep.
It's the first sentence. Yeah, I think that was just,
I
Yeah.
think so too.
Yeah.
okay, that's it. That was all I had.
Yeah, at first I thought, is that a process?
Me too.
or,
I was like, what is that?
Is that a software or something I didn't know about?
Me too.
Yeah, because Outlook, right.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right. Hearing no other comments or amendments, all those in favor of accepting the minutes of May 17, 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. Great. Adjournment. Motion to adjourn from someone?
Wow.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
No debate allowed. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Very good.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you
Dinner
all.
won't be ready now. I have to go cook myself.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks everyone on the phone.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. What do you mean? But yes, well, or I leave it in the oven.
BJ, we need a lot
He
of
said, I'll
adverbs and
grill it for
adjectives
9
for the
o'clock and you'll
$2.1
make
million.
the secret sauce. I'm like, okay. And I'll